Hello everybody, it's Dazel here with another Magic the Gathering EDH deck tech. Today I am featuring Rowan, Scion of War. She is a 3 mana 4/2 legendary creature human wizard with menace and an activated ability which says tap, spells you cast this turn that are black and or red cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you lost this turn, activate only as a sorcery. Rowan is a high-risk, high-reward commander because we pay a bunch of life to generate resources, tap her to discount our spells, and then finish the game with devastating spells like Crackle with Power. For 2 red and 3 X, a sorcery which says Crackle with Power deals 5 times X damage to each up to X targets. Torment of Hailfire, double black and X, repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. Exsanguinate, double black and X, each opponent loses X life and you gain life equal to the life lost this way. So how do we diminish our life total while we also gain a bunch of value? For example, with cards like Grim Tutor, 3 mana sorcery, search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library and you lose 3 life. Vampiric Tutor, 1 mana instant, search your library for a card, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it, you lose 2 life. Just as Imperial Seal, 1 mana sorcery, search your library for a card, then shuffle your library and put that card on top, you lose 2 life. Once we've put our win con on top, we just have to draw it. For example, with cards like Cut Off the Prophets, for 2 black and X sorcery with casualty free, you draw X cards and you lose X life. Knight's Whisper, 2 mana, you draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life. Just as Blood Pact, 3 mana instant, target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Read the Bones, 3 mana sorcery, scry 2, then draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life. Silent Blood, double black, target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. And another powerful card is Stinging Study, 5 mana instant, you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the mana value of a commander you own on the battlefield or in the command zone. It's not easy to discount our spells by a bunch, especially in the early game, but what definitely helps is untapping Rowan, for example with cards like Sting, the Glinting Dagger. 2 mana legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has haste. At the beginning of each combat, untap equipped creature. Equipped creature has first strike as long as it's blocking or blocked by a goblin or orc, and equipped 2. This allows you to sling your discounts together to get a nice chain going. Just as Mage Ride Stone, 2 mana artifact, for 1 and tap, untap target creature that has an activated ability with tap in its cost. Or also 1000 Year Elixir, 3 mana artifact, you may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste, and for 1 and tap it, untap target creature. This will allow you to discount your spells several times in a turn so you can sling them together nicely. Once we have done that and drawn a bunch of cards with the just named spells, we will just go over the top. For example, with Molten Steel Dragon. For 4 generic and 2 Phyrexian red mana, you get an artifact dragon who's 4/4, and for 1 red Phyrexian mana, Molten Steel Dragon gets +1/+0 until end of turn. This will allow you to pay a bunch of life into its activated ability to discount your other spells even more. Another really helpful creature is Villis, Broker of Blood, an 8 mana 8/8 demon with flying, and for 1 black and pay to life, target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. And whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. Villis is an absolute powerhouse in this deck because every time you pay life, you draw that amount of cards which will find you your win con really quickly. Blood Celebrant is a great early drop which will accelerate your game plan. For 1 black you get a 1/1 which says for 1 black and pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Doom Whisperer also helps you to find you your win con while you pay life. Doom Whisperer, 5 mana 6/6 flying trample. You can pay 2 life to surveil 2. Treasonous Ogre, a 4 mana 2/3 with Dethrone and pay 3 life, add 1 red to your mana pool. And last but not least, Kriok, Son of Yawgmoth. For 4 generic and 3 black Phyrexian, you get a 2/2 horror minion which says lifelink, and for each black in a cost, you may pay 2 life rather than pay that mana. Whenever you cast a black spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Kriok, Son of Yawgmoth. But there are more helpful creatures in this deck. For example, Infernal Sovereign, a 6 mana 6/6 flying trample which says skip your draw step, and whenever you play a land or cast a spell, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Stormfist Crusader, a 2 mana 2/2 menace. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card and loses 1 life. Defiler of Instinct, a 4 mana 4/4 first strike, and as an additional cost to cast a red permanent spell, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost 1 red less to cast if you paid life this way. This effect reduces only only the amount of red mana you pay. Whenever you cast a red permanent spell, Defiler of Instinct deals 1 damage to any target. Just as his brother Defiler of Flesh, a 4 mana 4/4 menace, as an additional cost to cast black permanent spells, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost 1 black less to cast if you paid life this way. This effect reduces only the amount of black mana you pay. Whenever you cast a black permanent spell, target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains menace until end of turn. Keen Duelist is great in this deck, a 2 mana 2/2. At the beginning of your upkeep, you and target opponent each reveal the top card of your library. You each lose life equal to the mana value of the card revealed by the other player. You each put that card you revealed into your hand. If you don't want to give your opponent's cards, just play Dark Confident, a 2 mana 2/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. Let's feature some very cool enchantments that will also help you to get your game plan going. Black Market Connections, a 3 mana enchantment. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, choose 1 or more. Create a treasure token, you lose 1 life. Draw a card, you lose 2 life. Create a free 2 colorless shapeshifter creature token with Changeling, you lose 3 life. Phyrexian Arena, 3 mana enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Mana Barbs is a high risk, high reward card. 4 mana enchantment. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, Mana Barbs deals 1 damage to that player. Call of the Ring, 2 mana enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, the ring tempts you. Whenever you choose a creature as your ring bearer, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. Font of Agonies is really cool in this deck. A 1 mana enchantment which says whenever you pay life, put that many blood counters on Font of Agonies. For 2 mana, remove 4 blood counters from Font of Agonies, destroy target creature. And another really cool card is Havoc Festival, a 6 mana enchantment which says players can't gain life. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player loses half his or her life rounded up. Let's talk a little bit about our mana base. Cabal Pit. Tap it to add 1 black to your mana pool. Cabal Pit deals 1 damage to you. For Threshold, for 1 black and tap it, sacrifice Cabal Pit. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Just as Barbarian Ring. Tap to add 1 red to your mana pool. Barbarian Ring deals 1 damage to you. For Threshold, 1 red, tap it, sacrifice Barbarian Ring. Barbarian Ring deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Mount Doom is a really helpful card. Tap it to pay 1 life to add 1 black or red. For 3 mana and tap it, Mount Doom deals 1 damage to each opponent. And for 7 mana, tap it, sacrifice Mount Doom and a legendary artifact, choose up to 2 creatures, then destroy the rest, activate only as a sorcery. Remnant Ruins. Tap it to add 1 generic to your mana pool, tap it, pay 1 life, add 1 red to your mana pool, and for 4 mana, tap it and sacrifice a desert. Remnant Ruins deals 2 damage to each opponent, just as Ifnir Deadlands. Tap it to add 1 generic to your mana pool, tap it, pay 1 life to add 1 black to your mana pool, and 4, tap it, sacrifice a desert, put 2 -1/-1 counters on target creature and opponent controls, activate his ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. And the most powerful land in this deck is Hall of the Bandit Lord. Hall of the Bandit Lord comes into play tapped. You can tap it to pay 3 life to add 1 generic to your mana pool. If that mana is spent on a creature spell, that creature gains haste. This allows you to use Rowan's ability immediately as soon as you use this mana to pay for Rowan's costs. You want to win more? You get it. Bolas' Citadel, 6 mana legendary artifact. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its converted mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. Tap Bolas' Citadel and sacrifice 10 non-land permanents, each opponent loses 10 life. Staff of Completion, 3 mana artifact. Tap, pay 1 life, destroy target permanent you own. Tap, pay 2 life, add 1 mana of any color. Tap, pay 3 life to proliferate. Tap, pay 4 life to draw a card. And for 5 generic, untap Staff of Completion. Peer into the Abyss. 7 mana sorcery. Target player draws cards equal to half the number of cards in their library and loses half their life, round up each time. Target yourself, draw half your library, lose a bunch of life, and pump all of this life loss into Rowan's ability to discount your spells. The One Ring. A great card draw engine which also gives you protection for 1 turn from everything. A 4 mana legendary artifact which is indestructible, and when the One Ring enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on the One Ring. Tap it to put a burden counter on the One Ring, then draw a card for each burden counter on the One Ring. Necropotence, 3 mana enchantment. Skip your draw step. Whenever you discard a card, exile that card from your graveyard. Pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library face down. Put that card into your hand at the beginning of your next end step. Sure, you don't win in one turn, but you can pay a bunch of life into Necropotence to discount your spells for this turn and get a nice refill for your hand for the next turn. Razorkev, the Foul-Blooded, 8 mana, 8/8 flying trample, and you can pay 2 life and sacrifice another creature, search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, then shuffle. You already get a discount while searching for your win con. And my personal favorite combination in this deck is Pact Weapon and Ad Nauseam. Pact Weapon is a 4 mana artifact which says, as long as Pact Weapon is attached to a creature, you don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. Whenever a equipped creature attacks, draw a card and reveal it. The creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, and you lose X life, where X is that card's mana value. You can equip Pact Weapon by discarding a card. Equip this one to Rowan so you're protected from Ad Nauseam. A 5 mana instant, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. You may repeat this process any number of times. The idea behind this one is you equip Pact Weapon to Rowan, cast Ad Nauseam, draw your whole deck, go below 0, and then discount your spells to fire off a powerful spell like Crackle with Power or Exsanguinate or Torment of Hailfire. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video about me talking about a few synergy cards that I would play in Rowan Scion of War. Let me know which cards you would add to the deck, which legendary creature I shall feature next, and then I would say see you in the next video. Goodbye guys.